Magandang araw. Welcome to the podcast that celebrates the vibrant Filipino community in Canada. It's a great day to chat. I'm your host, CHERIE Mercado Santos. Join us as we dive into the lives and experiences of our fellow kababayans and embrace the beauty of our shared culture. Mabuhay and let's get started. Ang guest natin sa araw na ito in our podcast is Estrella Cayaba-Mercurio. Hi, Estrella.
Hi, Cheryl.
Welcome to the show and thank you for just allowing yourself to be interviewed in this show. Marami kasi kaming minsan iniimbita na they're hesitant to na mag-guest na feeling nila only celebrities should be guesting in shows like this. But that's why I appreciate you just, coming here and chatting with us.
Okay. Magandang araw nga sa mga nanonood and thank you, Cheryl, for having me here. I always take every opportunity not just to be interviewed, but if somebody asks me to give an in-service right away, I like to help people that way.
Oh, that's good. Bakit? Ano yung thinking mo? Why are you willing to do this?
One of the books that kind of drives me in what I do is a book called Die Empty, D-I-E, Empty.
Okay.
And essentially, in summary, the book talks about when you die, you don't bring anything with you. Money, of course, but knowledge and skills, you should make sure you pass it on so it is perpetuated in other people. Parang ganon, you don't go to the grave with that.
Die empty. Ang naisip ko agad, gasoline tank kasi empty. Tama nga naman. You don't bring, when we say, of course people know, you die, you don't bring your money with you. That's kind of
sure.
always been reiterated, and laging sinasabi sa atin yan. But tama, you don't bring your knowledge, you don't bring your skills, so you pass it on.
You should not. You should not, is essentially what it's saying. Kasi a lot of people, yung bang sa isip nila they feel good na kanila lang sila lang ang makakaalam noon. Parang ganon.
Yan.
Yeah, and so they don't share it.
Totoo
and it
yan.
goes
Parang
to the
sila lang yung magaling kasi, di ba? If I'm the only one who knows how to do this, first, I'll become indispensable. But then nobody's indispensable in reality, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a Filipino nurse, and I'm proud to emphasize the word Filipino. I've been in Canada for over 30 years now. It was hard at the beginning, like any other immigrant, I guess. So people who were there during the awarding ceremony back in October 5, I did mention the hurdles that we go through. And one of the things that I experienced was getting a job way beneath your education and experience in the Philippines. Mahirap yun. But then, if you look at first yung finances mo, they easily go away. Whatever savings you have that we bring over, bilis yan mawawala. So you have to look for something to augment yung pera para, to even just groceries and stuff like that. Para meron ka. So with that in mind, naging cleaner ako. But I'm telling you, at the time, dean kasi ako sa Philippines when I left, right? And dean in a school of nursing and then in a college, community college. Coming here and cleaning people's homes, I'm fine with cleaning per se, pero yung iniisip mo, bakit pa ako pumunta rito? Right? I had 4 maids in the Philippines. I didn't have to touch anything. Andyan na yung pagkain mo and everything else. And then here, I'm cleaning people's homes. Nililinis ko yung banyo, yung shower, and my tears were falling together. Kasi nga, yung bang kind of regret. But then, after a while, after I passed the exam and I became a nurse, yun na. That was the start of, I guess, better life for all of us.
So, we're gonna delve into that, no? Let's start first. Dun sa childhood mo, where were you born? You're born in the Philippines? In Apayao.
Yes,
Okay, how was it like? A lot of Filipinos from other areas of the country, or siguro yung mga dito na pinanganak, they know where their parents are from, or some just by the name, no, or by the region.
Right.
How was it like growing up in Apayao? When your earliest memories? What was your childhood like?
I was born to a couple na pastor ang papa ko. So I'm a pastor's kid, essentially. And it was a nice childhood, although a bit restricted in that dahil nga anak ka ng pastor, people look up to you and they're kind of they have certain expectations from a pastor's kid as compared to other kids. Like you can fool around if you are another child of another couple, but not from a pastor's kid. Parang ganun.
Uh-huh.
In a way, it helped mold me into what I am today because yung Christian tenets that I always heard from my dad, from his sermons, from sermon in the pulpit and sermon in our house, parang yun ang naging guide ko rin.
Parang busog na busog kayo sa sermon ng bata, no?
Yeah, very much so.
So, did you feel the pressure of parang you were in not exactly a microscope, but as you said, no, it was different with the other kids. How did that affect you, like in your relationship with the other kids, for example?
I found that in a way from the positive point of view. To me, it was much better that way. Kasi, syempre, you became more conscious of how you grow up, how you deal with other people. Hindi yung loose ang morals and stuff like that. I'm not being sarcastic about that. But in a way, it helped me. It helped mold me to become a person who is, I would say, generous in a lot of ways.
Do you mind describing the setting of the place?
It's
where you grew up.
It's in a very rural. It was the capital town of Apayao at that time. Yung bang a town na iisang main road lang, and people knew everybody. Essentially, kung anong ginagawa ng isang family, parang alam mo, parang ganun.
May pros and cons yun, ano? Na, you feel close to the community, but also minsan parang, bakit ba kayo nakikialam sa buhay namin?
Yeah. But later on, you'll find that when you get used to the idea of privacy and all of that, you kind of question yung upbringing mo na ganon. But when I was growing up, that was part of the culture I grew up into, and therefore yung bang na-accept mo na ganon talaga yun. Like you don't find it insulting or intimidating when people try and poke their eyes on what you're doing, kind of thing.
And then, where did you study your high school? Did you
elementary hanggang high school? And since I was in the elementary grades, yung bang, alam mo yung autograph, I don't know if you went through that. We used to have what is called an autograph.
You pass it to your friends.
Yeah, pass it to your friends and then they fill it out. And dun sa ambition or what you want to be when you grow up, ang lagi kong nilalagay doon, to wear the white cap. Because at that time, nurses wore the cap,
Oh, that's
right?
what it meant. Okay. I was thinking which white cap. Okay.
Yeah, to wear the white cap. And so in my elementary years, I haven't decided yet kung saan ako mag-aral. Fortunately, when I went to high school, yung high school principal namin is the wife of our missionary. And she was a graduate of the Silliman University College of Nursing. Actually, she became one of the outstanding graduates back then. Anyhow, she became a good influence na parang ni-nurture niya yung gusto kong maging nurse. And so, bits and pieces, she would tell me what nursing is all about. And then eventually, yung papa ko attended a conference. They always have an annual conference in the United Church. And it was held in Silliman. So when he came back, this is in Dumaguete City, for those who don't know where Silliman University is. When he came back, sabi niya, maganda raw ang Silliman, you should go there. So with that, plus si Ma'am Veles is my principal I was talking about. I mean, oh sure, I'm a graduate of that school, and it's a great university, I can help you get there. So yun.
That was college already,
Yes,
nursing. But
yes.
where did the seed of wanting to be a nurse started?
I don't know, to be honest.
I remember kasi when I was a kid, we would fold the paper.
And then,
Dati kasi may ganun pa yung nurse,
Oo.
di ba? Yung parang angular pa yung hat. And then you wear a white uniform.
Right.
Parang apronish yung front. So we would play that. And I remember playing that. But I never really wanted to be a nurse when I grew up. But I would play that a lot. And we'd like to play pretend. I was wondering if you were playing pretend before, or were you exposed to maybe, I don't know, like taking care of people. Just wondering where that idea might have started. Any relatives who were...
Yeah, the only nurse I had that I knew in my younger days would have been Ma'am Velas, the real nurse. By that I mean, you finished nursing from the university or from a college. Yung mga iba naman yung, ano bang tawag nila doon? For here, it will probably be called practical nurses. Meron naman, every now and then I would have exposure to them, but they didn't really encourage me in a way na gusto ko rin maging ganun. I don't remember that, where it came from. Basta, I wanted to wear the white cap, not knowing that being a nurse eventually really was, I think, my calling, because until now, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it probably spoke to something inside you that you wanted to do. So, Silliman University, which is a very esteemed university in the Philippines, no, for the information of our viewers, that was the first time you left home for college. Okay.
Yes.
So you lived in the campus. May ano ba yan? May dorm ba yan, Silliman?
At that time, Silliman University, not really required, but I'd probably say on hindsight, siguro mga 80% of students in the university were in dormitories. Maraming dorms ang Silliman
So they really come from different parts of the Philippines.
They come from different places, and instead of having a boarding house, they would stay in a dormitory.
And how was that like for you? How was nursing school? Ilang years ang nursing school?
During my time, 5 years pa lang.
5 years.
Yeah. Eventually, it got cut down to 4 because I was still there when they did a survey to find out the difference between a 4-year and a 5-year. Kasi yung 4-year course at that time was parang experimental, and see whether there was a real difference in terms of maybe skills and knowledge and stuff like that. Wala nakita eh. So what was the extra year for? So they cut it down to 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, what was the progression after you finished nursing school? Did you find that studying hard, or did it maybe magnify or strengthen your result? Parang ito nga yung gusto ko when you were in school.
Yeah, definitely. When I started taking care of patients in the hospital, parang to me, ito talaga ang gusto kong gawin. Right? So after school, I think I was the first one in our class to finish. We have classroom and clinical work, right? If I may go back to how was it in the college, parang I felt, I don't know how my classmates felt, but I did feel na parang unfair to us, meaning nursing students, because we were carrying the same load, academic load, as other students, so 18 to 21 units per semester. And on top of that, we would be in clinicals for another 15 hours a week. So parang doble yung load namin. So we were in clinicals in the morning, and then 1 o'clock you go to class. So 1 to 5, essentially. Mahirap nga. So you have assignments in class, you have assignments in the clinical area. Doble talaga. So normal for us to go to bed would be midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock. Then you have to get up again 5:30, 6 o'clock, because you have to go through. Merong noon sa College of Nursing, we had what is called a morning devotion. So you have to attend that in the morning. So barely 5 hours of sleep at night.
Para rin siyang what we hear from med school. I mean, it's pretty much the same. Is it that, do you think it's that rigorous pa rin until now?
I'm not sure back in the Philippines kung ano na ngayon. But here, I also had a privilege to teach sa School of Nursing here, Centennial. And it's essentially the same. Like classes in the afternoon, clinicals in the morning. It was to me, it was just double whammy for student nurses to be in that situation.
It's good for us to have that that insight, that look inside. Ganun pala ang nursing school. No, well, I myself didn't know it was that rigorous. No? Especially siguro meron pang ang what do you call this? Meron pang morning ritual?
Mag-clinical ka pa. Clinical, mag-duty, yun ang term noon. Mag-duty ka pa in the morning, like 7 to, I think it was 7 to 11 or 7 to 12 sometimes. You seldom get off at 11.
Do some or maybe like how much percentage like give up before kasi sa med school maraming nalalaglag, maraming hindi na nila tatapusin.
We are told, or maybe it's true, sa Silliman, for instance, and I can only talk about my own cohort, we started as 120 4 sections or I think we were 4 sections. We ended up with only, of the original class na 120, were only 18 who finished.
Really?
We were actually, the whole class was 35, but the rest of the 35 were mga na delay because of one reason or another.
So yung original 120, 18, that's a big percentage.
Ang daming na-fail, especially in the first year kasi dyan talaga ang, that's where they get caught is yung sciences like biology, anatomy, and physiology. Grabe ang bagsakan dyan.
Okay, so from nursing school, I'm already getting the impression, and I have a feeling this is true, that you were one of the top students. You also taught here, so parang
yes, and I'm proud. There's always 3 in each class that gets an award every year. One is best in practice, best in theory, and then best in theory and practice combined. I always got the best in ano ba ako? I know I was not in theory. I must have been best in practice or best in theory and practice combined. But I was one.
That's a good way to ano it. Kasi nga iba nga yung theoretical, tas iba rin yung practical. And the combination of both is what makes you an excellent practitioner,
yes.
right? Okay, so after that, what happened? Did you get married right away? What happened?
Yes, I did. But I was the first one who finished all my clinical requirements.
In the class?
In the class. Kasi April pang graduation namin, natapos na ako end of January, first week of February. So at that time, nag-working student ako, which was good because I had extra money and use of my time. But then, there's a school in Bacolod City, yung Riverside School of Nursing, which was headed by a Silliman graduate. So they recruited, I think, 5 or 6 of us. So nauna na ako. I was one of the first ones. So I became a clinical instructor. That was my first job. And then I got pirated by another School of Nursing sa Bacolod din to become their dean at the time. So
naging teaching yung career mo, not exactly clinic,
actually, in the
hospitals.
Philippines, it was mostly teaching.
Teaching, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how, did you actually spend time like in the hospitals or in the clinics or very little? From the time that, yun nga, kasi yun na pala yung pagkatapos mo, it led you to teach,
The only
no?
connection I would have with hospitals is when I was following up students as a clinical instructor. Because you would be supervising them. Yeah, you'd be supervising them in the hospital. But actual hands-on, hindi. Dito na sa Canada. Yeah.
Okay, so that was an illustrious teaching career. And then what happened after that? When did you start a family? Where did you meet your husband?
I met him first in Silliman. my husband, because one of the requirements student nurses is for us to sa clinical namin, it's called rural health nursing. Is it rural health or public health, something like that? Anyway, one of the requirements is to do a teaching stint with the populace where you're assigned. So we were assigned to this slum area in Dumaguete, and you do an informal survey, what is the need of that community, etc. So we identified at that time that the need was for family planning education. Kasi dami nilang mga anak. And when we interviewed them, they didn't know about ways to control birthing and all of that. So, yun, magpasini daw tayo. Okay, how do we do that, right? May mga sabi nila, may mga truck, yung mga companies, drug companies, may mga truck daw na merong mga, they have the facility in their own truck na pwede kayong magpasini. You would know them because the top of their car would look like speakers. Trucks rather, would be speakers. So, ayun, I stood up in the middle of the road, watched all these cars passing by, and fortunately or unfortunately, there was this truck. So, I was frantically asking them to stop. Sabi, what's wrong? What do you need? And I said, do you show movies? And I said, yeah, we do. So Edwin, my husband, was part of the team dun sa Cortal. So that's how we met. We showed the movie and all of that. Yun. Rest is history, we met again in Bacolod. And that's when we got married.
Oh, that's I've never heard yet a love story that started that way. This is a first for me, that you actually flagged him for, you actually flagged the truck where he was in, and not to hitchhike, but like to, for a very different cause. Yeah. So, hindi siya taga Silliman. You were in Silliman, and then he was working with what?
He was working with Cortal at that time.
Cortal is the drug company, tama ba?
Hindi mo ba naabutan yung Cortal?
Di ba medicine yan?
Yes,
Cortal?
yes. Yeah, for headache.
Oo.
I don't know what it's made of. I don't think it's paracetamol, but anyway, it's for headache.
Sikat na sikat yan sa Pilipinas.
Yes, yes.
Wala namang Cortal ngayon. But anyway, so he was working for the pharmaceutical drug company.
Then I forgot about him, but he used to come to the nursing home when I said I was working already as a desk assistant nung wala na akong clinicals, tapos na ako. And he would come, right?
Pero yung pagpunta niya doon, ikaw na yung
hindi ako pinupuntahan niya. Yung classmate ko from Bacolod. Kasi pareho nilang Ilonggo, right? So he would come and parang ganun. And then sa Riverside na, sa Bacolod, I became the advisor of the provincial, it's called NONSA, Negros Occidental Nursing Students Association. So I was the advisor of that. It's a group of, I think, 3 or 4 schools of nursing. And one of the things they did was to publish a magazine, a yearly magazine. And now, so Edwin, I don't think was there anymore with Cortal. Aktivista yan nung araw. So they were offering a journalism workshop and invited schools to join, mga students. Right? I had to be with the students kasi kailangan nila ng, what do you call that? Chaperone? Yeah, chaperone. We met again. And he said, do you remember me? And I said, I'm not sure I do. And he said, Cortal. That was how he jogged my memory. Yes, I did. We reconnected.
How many, and then shortly after, you got married?
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
We have 3.
Okay, now tell us about how you ended up here in Canada.
Aktivista yan, nasabi ko na. And being a nurse, I would have been the first one to say, let's go to the States, which is where most Filipinos would go. Ayaw niya nationalistic and all of that. You have to serve the country, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we stayed there. But then his dad was here in Canada with his 2 siblings. Nagkaroon ng he had a stroke, and
the father of your husband.
Father.
Okay.
At the time that this happened, Edwin wrote for the Santa Cruz Mission, which is a Catholic mission for the indigenous people in South Cotabato. He was writing on the side for UCAN, Union of Catholic Asian Youth, I think is what it's called. He was awarded a scholarship to go to Hong Kong for a 1-month journalism training. The week before he left, so he had all his exit visa and all of that, yun ang nangyari sa tatay niya. So they called na he's unconscious and all of that. You have to come. Fortunately for him, he applied for Canadian visa on a Friday. And they said, no, we can't give you right away. Come Monday and we'll see what we can do. And then Monday pumunta siya. Okay naman yung visa niya. That's how he came here.
Ang bilis, no?
Yeah, ang bilis.
Well, it was also a consideration for a medical condition of the father.
Yes. And his intention was to go back to the Philippines still. But then, I don't know if I should include this here, but before he left, he left an article that was published after he left. And it's about this group, controversial group there. So they were looking for him. A friend asked me where he was, and I said, he's in Canada. And he said, tawagan mo, wag na siyang pabalikin dito. And I said, why? Hinahanap siya.
Nitong
yung mga
dangerous
yung
controversial
yes.
group. Okay.
Hinahanap siya. I guess to kill him or what. So tinawagan ko siya, wag ka na daw babalik, sabi ni yung friend natin. So he had to stay here on a refugee basis. And then eventually he got immigrant's visa, and so he sponsored
Did
us.
this fall under political asylum?
Yes, political asylum.
But it wasn't the government that was threatening him.
Not this group that was looking for him. Although he was always writing. He was writing for Malaya. If you got
of course, yeah.
wind of Malaya as a newspaper, he wrote for the Philippine News Agency as well. But it's always on the other side. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Pero hindi siya yung time nung mga... Was he a political victim or during the Marcos era?
He was. He was. Fortunately, they had connections with the Philippine Constabulary, I think, and the police. So naano siya, but he nag-ano din siya. Pumunta siya sa mga bukid. If you know.
Nagtago din siya.
Nagtago rin
he was
siya.
never a detainee, but he had to hide.
Yeah.
Because of his writings, because of the things that he would divulge, no, in his articles. Okay,
Yeah,
so he went here,
He came.
and sabi mo, wag na siya umuwi. He applied for political asylum
yes.
here, and he was approved. Pag ganon, kasama na ba yung spouse, or how did you follow?
It's we followed actually much later. Mga 5 years pa bago na-approve yung immigrant's visa niya. And yes, as a political, under the political asylum program, they have what is called family reunification. So automatic.
Oh, okay.
Kapag i-sponsor niya na kami. So, yeah. So
But it took why did it take that long?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
So you
Matagal.
you didn't see each other for 5 years. And the kids were how old where were the kids, and how old were they at this point?
Elementary and then high school. When we left the Philippines, tamang-tama naman na nung na-approve ang visa namin, mag-graduate na from UP yung eldest ko. Then the second one was 1 year sa Silliman, then the third was first year university, UP din.
Sa lahat
UP din.
sila, yung isa
They were
pag-graduate ng
college
college,
na.
tas they were,
Yes.
the other two were in college. So they stayed with you
Yeah,
for the 5
yeah. And
years.
we came at the same time. So the whole family.
That could not have been easy.
Oh, hindi. It was difficult to be a mom and dad at the same time.
What were the challenges during the time?
It was not so much with the girls, because I have 2 girls and then the youngest is a boy. But it was the boy who, walang daddy, right? Wala siyang dad figure. And actually, I didn't realize how much he was affected by that until we came here in Canada. And he wrote in one of his English classes here. I don't know what course was that, but I knew it was English, had to do with an English course. Nabasa ko. And he wrote there how difficult it was for him to grow up without a dad.
formative years kasi niya yan
Oo,
He was in high school. High school is the time you're looking for your identity.
Yes.
And parang
yes.
maraming angst, no? The
Yeah,
teenage
yeah,
angst.
yeah.
And
He didn't say that to me when we were there, pero nabasa ko na lang sa sinulat niya.
how did that, do you remember how you felt reading that?
Parang maiyak ako.
Oo. I'm
Parang
sure.
maiyak ako when I read it. And then I actually called his attention and I said, "You didn't tell me this. This is really how you felt?" Sabi niya, "Oo naman." I think at the end of that, what do you call that, article that he wrote, sinabi niya na, "I wouldn't like my own kid to go through the same experience I had growing up without a dad." Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nakakaiyak. Naiyak nga ako nun.
Oo. So to think, no, that's 5 years. I mean, many other families are separated longer than that, some lesser than that, but yun it's a separation during those formative years that will bear a challenge to each and every member of the family. Iba yung challenge. I'm sure it wasn't easy for your husband to be alone here as well. For you as the mother and father to 3 kids.
And the other thing, and this is what I always share with newcomers to Canada that I get to, na ganun din ang sitwasyon, right? Na either nauna yung wife dito, or nauna yung husband dito, and then eventually the other spouse would come here. I always warn them that yung nauna dito would already have acculturated sa Canada. Yung bagong dating, makukulture shock pa yan.
Oo.
And usually it's the cause of rift ng spouses when they don't get to meet in the middle and help each other, get used to each other again. Mahirap yun mahirap. It's a challenge for people to go through that experience.
So would you say that was the most trying time of your married life?
Oh yeah. Very much so. Kasi nga, yung bang hindi mo alam ganito pala dito, and you're still yung mentality mo, Pinoy pa rin, Filipinas pa rin, ganon. And then here, iba na there are many things that you do differently here as opposed to what is done in the Philippines. And you try and catch up fast enough to catch up with him, with the spouse who was here 5 years ahead of you. Yung ganon.
So siya assimilated na, no?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you share this, like what you said, no? You get to talk to your own community or Filipinos who are new to Canada, and you share your experience. What do you share with them? What are your reflections that you think are useful for those nga who are younger than us or just moved here from your own experience? Ano yung mga learnings mo?
Oo. That one for sure, in terms of the family life. And then the fact that you don't expect to work in the same job. You'd be lucky if you get into the same job as you had when you were in the Philippines. But to help with finances, you have to be willing to go through flipping burgers, for instance, cleaning other people's homes. Hayaan mo na. Just swallow your pride, and eventually, if luck would have it, or maybe some other factors would come into play, you get the job that you really want eventually. It will come up, I'm sure. It will come up.
Do you think about this also? Like, if you didn't leave the Philippines, even your husband, if you guys stayed there, what would it have been like for you?
When I left the Philippines, I left a work with the indigenous people in the Philippines. In South Cotabato, there were 7 tribes, I think, that we were working on. And I helped develop their curriculum for Bachelor of Science in Community Development. But the kind of curriculum that we developed, and I'm saying we because it was with the help of the director, Father Rex, it was geared towards hindi yung regular na BSCD which was offered at that time in the University of Mindanao. Parang iba yung gusto ni Father Rex. He wanted a curriculum where students finished and knew about community development, pero hindi lang yung one track na development. He wanted all aspects to be part of that development, like the religious part, agriculture, economics, what else? Marketing, health, and then of course community development. So there were 6 areas in the curriculum that we developed. It became actually a prototype in Region 11. And then yun, so they have the first 3 years, general education, and the third year, of course, they go into all those different specializations, we call them. And then they decide, after 4 weeks exposure to each of those areas, they decide anong gusto nila, what do they think would be the best in terms of their interest, in terms of maybe their skills. Yun. And then the last 2 months, I think, of exposure would then be in that particular field. So if they want to work in health, community health, then that's where they specialize. Parang ganun.
So you think this would have been...
I think I would have helped develop and maybe even expand the college department. Actually, now I was there just last August, and they offer different courses now, not just BSCD.
But you were able to plant the roots, which was very good.
Yes.
No? What is it about Canada life that you like? Do you have any regrets moving here? Do you have any... what are your thoughts when you go back to the Philippines and compare it?
Yung healthcare system here. I'm not subjective because I'm a nurse, but I like the healthcare system and the way it's being managed, right? Parang may... it's an insurance, the Ontario Health Insurance Program. May insurance ka so that you don't have to worry about being old. And unfortunately, going into that stage in your life, the older you become, the more comorbidities you get. And that is what is disadvantageous for people in the Philippines. Kasi yung sabi ng friend ko nga, pag sa Pilipinas ka, magkasakit ka, mauubos ang savings
kahit gaano
mo.
ka kayaman.
Kahit ano kang kayaman. Sabi ko, I know that. And then sabi niya, pero ate, hindi lang yung savings mo ang nauubos. Huhukayin mo pa ang libingan. Parang ganun.
Oo.
And I feel for our compatriots na maraming, they die. Many of my friends my age have already died because they just give up. I'll just leave my money for my family. Ganun na lang, wag na lang ako magpagamot. Yung ganun.
Nanghihinayang sila na bakit ko pa gagastusin yung panggamot sa sarili ko.
Because it's really very expensive to be sick in the Philippines.
That's true. Okay. Anything else? The healthcare here in Canada? What else do you...
Healthcare system, all the amenities, I guess, that are at your disposal. Cheaper. You think about the amenities here, compare it to what you would spend in the Philippines kung nandun ka. Malayo. Like, I couldn't afford my lifestyle here kung sa Pilipinas
Kung sa Pilipinas.
Yeah, even...
What are those? Kasi may iba naman nagsasabi, mas mahal sa Canada. So, what are the ones you're saying when it's cheaper here?
Oh, transportation for one. You have to really be rich. I don't know if that would be a good comparison. To be able to buy yourself a vehicle in the Philippines. Samantalang dito, even on ordinary, basta ordinary by that, I mean, I'm not disparaging the other people, but yung regular lang na income mo dito.
Nagtatrabaho ka ng maayos.
Nagtatrabaho ka lang ng maayos, you have a regular income, you can
a car, a vehicle.
You can afford to buy a car. Housing, yan din. So, dito, like, well, now the housing market is kind of difficult, but still, makakabili ka dito ng bahay sa Pilipinas.
Mas may posibilidad, mas reachable.
Yeah, it's a reachable goal to be able to get a house here, to own a house. Sa Pilipinas, I think most of them will just rent, until wala na. Rent lang sila.
So I have a series of questions for you before we close the show. Series of questions, no? So quick answers, like what do you do to de-stress?
Oh, I go to my trailer and work on my garden. the garden really is my de-stressor. Yeah.
What is it about the garden that makes you...
Watching your plants grow and then eventually bloom or bear fruit. Then you eat knowing what went into that fruit kind of thing. Yeah.
What do people misunderstand about you?
Oh, many times I've been told, yung bagong kakilala mo pa lang, I'm standoffish daw. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't realize until somebody said that to me.
What's your guilty pleasure?
My
Manicure?
Manicure, pedicure. And it's sometimes also my distressor. When I'm stressed, I go to the beauty parlor and have my hair done, my nails and everything.
Oh, that's nice to know. What's the best compliment someone could say to you? They may not have necessarily said it, but what would you think would be the best compliment that someone can tell you?
When someone appreciates my help in healing their wound, because that's my specialty is wound care. And when somebody says, thank you so much. If not for you, I probably... Because there are many that have had that wound for a long time and then they come into my clientele pool and within 2, 3, 4 months, they get totally healed. And when they thank you for that, parang ang sarap ng feeling that you contributed to it.
What would be the worst insult that somebody can say to you?
The only thing I can remember right now is when one of the first full-time jobs I had here was to teach. And that's another story. But anyway, one of the students said, and of course, Filipino, may accent ka if you didn't grow up here, right? You still have the Filipino accent even if you speak good English. Sabi niya, and she didn't tell it to me directly, but I think she said it to her classmates na, people like us, meaning immigrants, should go back to our own country.
Wow.
And it's good. The dean was very supportive. And then she apologized, said, I didn't really mean you in particular, but I know she meant me because she was my student.
Okay. If you won the lottery, what would you spend it on?
What would I spend it on? Travel would be number one. But I know where it will go right away.
Where?
Travel and then yung mga luho ko.
Which are?
Oh my goodness. Bags. Shoes.
Okay. Like
anything on my body.
Oh yeah? Oh, that's good to know.
Jewelries, yeah.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
People who are not conscious of time. Because for me, we have to respect each other's time. Like, I'm waiting for you and you're walking in like nothing, that you were not even late. And I could have done something else.
Yes. Minsan wala pang apology, no? So sa Philippines,
wala pang apology. Parang nothing, you know?
Exactly. Okay, I can totally relate to that. If you had the attention of the world for 5 minutes, what would you say? What's your message?
My message, and this is always my message every time I have to talk, is to always think of this universe as something that was given to you, not for you to spend arbitrarily, but save it for the future generation.
Beautiful. What's your favorite movie?
Yung, ano bang tawag nun, yung Escape from Alcatraz.
What's your favorite book?
Die Empty is
the one
one.
you said in the beginning?
And then there's a little book made by, that says something about how to get the best out of people or something to that effect.
Okay. What's in your nightstand?
My nightstand is my medication. No, seriously. My nightstand, I have, the book that I have there, and they're mostly books. Box of tissue.
What are the 3 things that make you the happiest?
When I'm with my grandchildren and my family in general, yes.
What's one thing that you're deeply grateful for right now?
What's one thing?
You're deeply grateful for right now.
I'm grateful for the life that was given to me, and I'm blessed with a lot of talents. And with that, I'm grateful that I'm able to share it with others.
What is the one worthwhile investment that you have done for yourself? Investment, it could be monetary,
Education.
it could be time, it could be education.
Yes. I always encourage people, get as much training. If there's something that's offered, grab it. Because education is something you can never take back from people.
One wise man told me before, when parents think about how expensive, for example, to make their kids study this, that. He said, if you think education is expensive, try the cost of ignorance.
Oh, yeah.
What's one advice that you would give to someone in his or her early 20s?
Determine right away what you would like to be in the future and work towards that. So there's a goal at the end, and so all the steps should be predetermined so that you don't waste money and time getting this course and that course when eventually you don't love it anyway.
Is there any advice you think they should ignore?
They should ignore?
We get a lot of advices when we were kids or in our whole lives, right? Is there something that, you think is, you can totally disregard this particular advice?
People who, I don't know if you can call that advice, but parents who want their kids to be something they wanted to, but never became. And so I wanted to become a nurse. Now my kids don't want to be a nurse. I will try and manipulate them.
When you reflect your frustrations on your children.
Yeah, yung ganun.
So that's something. That's true.
I would encourage the kids to go for what you think is something you love and will enjoy.
Okay, so what's one final thought you would like to leave to our audience?
I can say this to my fellow Filipino nurses that we are known in general as the best nurses in the world. And so I would like to encourage nurses to help other nurses who are new in the country para matulungan sila, because many of us go through hoops just to become registered as a nurse in Canada, for instance, or maybe even in the States. So help them, help the younger generation so that they can become also successful in their own rights and contribute to the healthcare system.
How do you think can they help other nurses?
Marami nga. One is, like for instance, I didn't know I could have worked as a PSW instead of being a housekeeper. Stuff like that.
What you know now na hindi pa nila alam.
Hindi nila alam yun. Hindi ko rin alam. I asked them before. I didn't know that. Also, yung steps to make it easier for you to become registered as a nurse, for instance. Ano bang dapat mong gawin? What are the things, like you can start working as a PSW in a facility. That way you get acquainted with the healthcare system. It becomes easier for you to transition later on when you get the registration as a nurse. Mga ganun. Because whether you like it or not, akala ko sa Pilipinas lang yung whom you know gets you the job.
Right.
Dito ganun din. I mean, it makes things easier that way. And especially, although they I think they got rid of that requirement now, you have to have a Canadian experience. Now, how do you get the experience if you don't give the chance for this person to get the experience, right? I was just lucky because my boss said, I don't care about experience, I care about how you will produce.
That's good.
So he gave me the chance, and I stayed there until I retired.
So I guess if you're in that position where you can give opportunities for your fellow kababayans who have good qualifications, then why don't we
give it?
help
Yes.
each other? I know we guested someone here who's in the real estate industry, and she does make sure that she she screens and she includes Filipinos in the people that she screens whenever there's a job opening that she has the power to hire people for. Which is good, diba? Nakikita natin sa ibang lahi yan eh.
I did that before, and at some point, if we still have time, at some point sabi ng boss ko noon, I notice you're hiring a lot of Filipinos in our company, right? And I said, do you have any problem with that? Because if there is, I'd be the first one to fire them. But for as long as they work the way we expect them to, and even better, I'll keep them. And I'll keep hiring Filipinos.
I love the way you answer that.
Yeah.
Diba? And even the way we reply to people sometimes. Because as Filipinos, we tend to be, how do you say it?
You clam inside.
You clam up.
We don't because of our growing up na culture natin na, you're not supposed to speak back. And
ayaw mo nang may nagagalit sa'yo, or you don't wanna don't wanna spur any diba, bad feelings with anyone. But even that is one good skill that they can develop here.
Yes.
Like the way you answered that was perfect. On that note, we would like to thank you for your time and for sharing with us all these interesting stories and insights.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
So again, that's Estrella Mercurio, and she's here as a registered nurse, and
yes,
am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and still teaching.
Consulting, wound consult at the nursing homes, City of Toronto, and 2 private nursing homes. Yes.
Ayun. Thank you so much, Estrella, for guesting, and thank you for joining us today. Every Filipino story is worth hearing, and we're grateful to share this journey with you. Remember, our community grows stronger with each story that we tell. So hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat, and we'll see you in our next episode.